everyone, and welcome to another League Racing video. This time we are racing around Baku for round 13 of Season 9. So we're going to jump straight into qualifying. This is my best flying lap in this session for a reason that'll become apparent a little bit later on. But for now, enjoy the lap, and I'll join you again later. So there we go, that lap puts us up into 5th place. But as you may notice, there's still just about enough time on the board for another flying lap. But when I came out the pits again this time with new tyres on, there's only 1 minute and 48 seconds left on the board. So I knew it was going to be extremely tight for me to make it around in time to start a new flying lap. So I was pushing flat out, coming out the pits. And unfortunately, I missed my braking point for turn 2, which meant I had to go wide. Going to the line-off area, I tried to immediately spin the car around, didn't give myself enough space, ended up damaging the front wing, and that's already my qualifying over. So even without the front wing damage, I wouldn't be able to make it to the line in time. So now I just have to wait and hope that no one else improves. Now thankfully, it was a rush for practically everyone else. So because of that, they all had traffic on their flying laps and they were all somewhat compromised. So because of that, it actually looked like I was going to maintain my 5th place. And indeed, I did keep that 5th place. There were several other drivers that improved, but they improved to a time that was still slower than my time. So thankfully, bailed out of that mistake, still starting in 5th place. Not a bad place to start. Strategy, simple one stop, is quite easy to do one stop around here. And I did underfuel the car, but maybe not quite enough. Obviously it is Baku, so there'll be a lot of safety cars, but now we'll go to the race start and I'll leave you for now. So that restart was okay for us. Samuel, who was ahead of us, had a rather bad start, which allowed us to climb all the way up into 4th place. I did have a look up the inside of Baby Boy, and I had a slight moment of oversteer into turn 1, which I slightly overcorrected for. But into turn 2, France went a bit too deep and banged his front wing into the wall. That gave him front wing end plate damage, and that allowed me to have a look up the inside. But I ended up sort of just hanging my nose in there, but not fully committing to the move. France carried the speed through, managed to keep the position. I just had to keep an eye on Spikes behind to make sure that he didn't overtake me. Otherwise, after that, things seemed to settle down. Now, end of lap 2, we are now close enough to France to make a move and hopefully take 3rd place. Now, unfortunately, in the beginning part of this race, I was really struggling to see my braking point for turn 3, which was causing me to oftentimes brake too late and then sometimes way too early. The brake marker board that I was using, which was the 100 meter board, was hidden by a couple of branches, so it was very difficult for me to see where they are. And because of that, I really struggled to pull away from France, even though I had more pace than him. Because of his front wing damage, I wasn't able to pull away from him because of these mistakes that were creeping into my driving. And then, unfortunately, it happened. You would have noticed on my previous lap in turn 15 I had a fairly big moment of oversteer, while this time around it's the exact opposite. I end up clipping the inside curb at just the wrong angle, which sends me wide into the wall, giving me front wing damage. So here's a clip of it. You can see it from the external view, just hitting the curb a bit too much and in the wrong angle, because you can really abuse that curb, but you have to put all 4 tires over it. If you only have 2 of your tires over that curb, it just has a tendency to shoot you into the wall. So because of that, it's compromised my run. It's now allowed France to re-overtake us. However, he himself is going wide in a couple of these corners, so I haven't given up just yet. I do want to try and stay ahead of him if I can. So out of turn 2, I capitalize on him going wide and I drain my battery. I'm going to overtake him this time around into turn 3. It's not maybe the smartest thing to do if we are looking at pure pace, but I want to stay ahead of him in case a safety car comes out. Well, wasn't that just lucky that I happened to overtake him just before the safety car came out? And it was interesting as to who exactly brought out the safety car. So here's a clip. As you can see, that front wing damage, overtaking France around the outside into turn 3. He gives me the room, but behind, James just misses his braking point, goes straight into the wall, and the impact was hard enough to cause him to DNF. So that brings up the safety car, and of course, we are all going to pit from the mediums onto the hards. This is now the perfect opportunity for me to change my front wing. France will also have to change his front wing, which means I only lose 1 position to Spikes in this pit stop.
one stop to go, just one stop left in the strategy.
End of lap 8, and the safety car is now in, and Benimi Jonas in front has released the field. We are back racing. Now, there were several drivers that stayed out on hard tyres under the safety car, so we have to clear them as quickly as we can. One of them is Whistler. He got a bit of wheel spin out of turn 1, and turn 2, he's going to be going side by side with Spikes. We're going to try and get a better exit than both of them, but Whistler once again gets wheel spin, pulls over to the left side of the track, which gives me far more steering to do, and that keeps me tight on the inside and allows France to go through. Now here I make a very stupid mistake, diving up the inside of Whistler. I had no right to be there, and now that's allowed Japes to be on my inside into what is turn 5. So I had to give him the squeeze to try and prevent him from overtaking me. Thankfully, it all worked out in the end. But that does mean that now France is back ahead of me. So here is another shot of that. As you can see, Whistler and Spikes going side by side. I try and capitalize on that, but I end up having to move far too much to the left, which kills my run, which now gives France the racing line. I'm very tight on the inside. If I try and launch it up the inside here into turn 3, we're going to go 3 wide, which is just not going to work. One of us is going to end up in the wall. So realistically, my only option was to back out of that move. So again, just another angle. Could have worked out well for us, but unfortunately we just had to do far more work on the exit of the corner than I was expecting to. And at this point, there's not much more I can do to really hold France behind either. He's always going to have the superior line through turn 3. But this is where it's just really a brain-dead move for me here. Diving up the inside, I didn't have enough of my car alongside. Of course, Whistler's going to be on the apex. That's the racing line. Now here, I left just about enough room for Japes there on the inside. Nearly squeezed him to the wall, but yeah, it was just about enough. And again, I really did not want to be overtaken there. I did not want to be fighting side by side with anyone anymore after that point. So here we are, end of lap 9. We've caught up to Whistler. We're going to be able to overtake him fairly easily, but he is going to stick his nose on the outside for quite a lengthy period. Turn 1, brake late enough, make the move stick, and now we can focus on catching up to the pack in front. And immediately at the end of lap 10, we are going to have an opportunity to overtake Spikes into turn 1. But, whoa, that's a dive bomb. And safety car is called out for what I did not know yet. But that sort of ruined an accidental overtake that could have turned out to be brilliant. Well, we'll have to see that again and see just what exactly happened there. Because I was not planning to overtake Spikes into turn 1. I thought I braked early enough, and suddenly realized I was about to go into the back of Spikes, so I had to quickly swerve to the inside. But further back in the shot, you might notice 2 cars hitting the wall there. I think that is what brought out the safety car. So let's take a look at that turn 1 incident yet again. This time from the front on view. As you can see, we were alongside Spikes into turn 1, and might have actually ended up being a good, clean overtake. So close to being a complete crash out in turn 1 there with Spikes. Just unfortunate that the safety car had to come out at that time. and ruin what could have been a very interesting overtake. But anyway, we are still behind Spikes, we are with the top pack, we are all on the same age tyres. Oe Glitch pitted for new tyres, so he's out of the way. Now my job is not to do a Landon Norris and lose any positions under the safety car restart.
Green flag. Tyre condition still looking good. Okay, the steers is now enabled DRS. DRS is now online.
So going into the castle section on lap 17, Baby Boy in front is going to hit the wall and damage his front wing, which causes him to start to back us up slightly. And because of that, he's going to pit for a new front wing at the end of this lap, but then he actually retires in the pits. So that's got him a qualifying ban and has given us 4th place.
Okay, be careful. You're going to start losing some tyre grip anytime now.
Lap 20, and as Mark has said, we are starting to lose grip in these tyres, and especially turn 15 as we hit a sick drift over the apex curve. So here's another shot of that. One lap later, end of lap 21, Spikes in front has just lost DRS to France in front. Now, I don't have enough battery here to do an overtake, but it is going to hurt him and potentially even allow me to overtake him into turn 3, but we end up getting a virtual safety car. Now, interestingly, because of the way the safety car ended up panning out, Spikes and I end up closing in on the leaders, which allows Spikes to regain DRS. So because of that, I've lost one of my overtaking opportunities. I wasn't too fussed about it at this stage. I wasn't even entirely aware that Spikes had actually lost DRS in the first place. But it does mean I'm starting to get a little bit impatient behind here. I haven't been able to really overtake anyone for quite some time. P1 is just up the road, but I can't really do anything to get there in the first place because we are stuck in a DRS train. Now, out of turn 2, I noticed I was a little bit close to spikes, so I decided to burn all of my battery with the wild hope of potentially getting an axle overtake done. We are close enough to have a look, but we back out of it, brake what I thought was early, but apparently it was still late enough to cause me to just slightly ping the back of Spikes' car. I don't think it was enough that he would have necessarily felt it all that much, but it was just a little bit annoying. Now at the end of this lap, something really wild happens as I lock up both of my front tires and just go straight into the barriers at turn 15. And that has now given me very severe front wing damage. So here's another angle of that. I don't think I braked too late for this corner. I think I just had slightly too much brake pressure on. Maybe I was on a very slightly different line, but just unfortunately ended up locking both my front tires completely. And typically in this game, you can get away with locking up your tires. They don't genuinely cause you to have a severe loss of grip, but in this case, they did. And as you can see in the replays, the front wing is quite heavily damaged. It's not just the end plate that's gone, I'm also missing a bit of the upper element on the right side of the wing. Thankfully, the gap behind 2P5 was quite big, so I could just afford to back off and bring the car home. So there we go, that's the end of the Grand Prix. We are about to cross the finish line for yet another 4th place. William Jonas has won the race. And now France was given a 3-second time penalty, but it was a false 3-second time penalty, so that has been removed post-race. So because of that, France has finished 2nd place ahead of Spikes. And looking at the pit stops here in the race director, it looks like there were some interesting tyre strategies at play because of the safety car and virtual safety car, and obviously since it's a street circuit there were quite a few people having to pit because of front wing damage. So that's it for me, and thank you all for watching this video. I'm sorry this is very late. Hopefully the next one will come out a bit sooner than this one. Goodbye and have a great day.